And to finally complete the most significant news for this day, Y News continues. Here are the top stories. Grab Philippines needs to pay the government 6.5 million pesos. This after the Philippine Competition Commission imposed penalty against Grab for its non-submission of its pricing commitment. Particular to this is the appropriate report on the fare that the company charged to its passengers in its first quarter's operation since the company's acquisition of its largest competitor, Uber. The PCC asserts that the said report is necessary for the welfare of its riders and to determine Grab's pricing behavior. More so, its incentives to maintain service quality. Grab Philippines President Brian Koo, however, states that they will file a motion for reconsideration for this PCC's maximum penalty imposition. Grab has until February 7 to file their motion for reconsideration and 45 days to pay the fine. Meanwhile, the price of liquefied petroleum gas or LPG will possibly go up next week. Industry players said the price increase will be around 60 centavos to 1 peso and 50 centavos per kilo of LPG. The price of LPG was affected by the movement of the oil prices in the international market. The price of LPG has gone up early this month by more than 10 pesos per 11 kilogram tank due to the high oil taxes. The Senate Justice Committee is determined to propose the lowering of the age of criminal responsibility to 12. This as the committee concluded its hearing on the said issue today. Justice Committee Chair Senator Richard Gordon argued that it is reasonable to amend the Juvenile Justice and Welfare Act as children today get involved in various crimes and it is already being implemented in other developed countries.
I feel I'm the chairman because that's what I see. I told you my justification. The whole world is at 10, 9, 7.
Gordon will submit the committee report to the plenary next week. Meanwhile, various child rights advocates have gathered earlier in front of the Senate to condemn the proposed lowering of the age of criminal responsibility. In other news, the Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency, or PDEA, claims that 57% of the children aged 9 to 7 who had been rescued by the Philippine National Police in anti-illegal drug operations were into illegal drugs trade. Based on PDEA's record, a total of 1,954 children have been involved in illegal drug activities from July 2016 to December 2018. For this reason, they strongly agree to lower the age of criminal liability from 15 to 12 years of age and subject them together with their parents or guardians to a 3-year intervention program instead of just 1 year based on the Congress proposal. After 4 years, families of 44 PNP Special Action Force members who were killed in the Mamasapano, Maguindanao bloody encounter are still hoping for justice. In today's 4th commemoration of the fallen heroes led by the 5th Special Action Battalion in Zamboanga City, families of the SAF 44 expressed their disappointment on what they claim is an elusive justice.
Sana managot lang talaga kung sino yung may pakana doon na iniwan sila sa ere, hindi sila binigyan ng reinforcement agad-agad na alam ko naman po na pwede yan at kaya yan.
Nasasaktan pa rin ako hanggang ngayon dahil walang justice hanggang ngayon.
Presidential Proclamation number 164, January 25 of every year, was declared as a National Day of Remembrance for the fallen heroes. The camp of Cotabato City Mayor Francis Cynthia Gianni Sayadi is preparing all evidence to back the petition that they are set to file before the Commission on Elections that seek to declare a failure of elections in the last Bangsamoro plebiscite. Among their grounds is the allegation of teachers who are not residents of Cotabato but were commissioned to act as plebiscite committee members. Other grounds were the presence of ghost voters and the intimidation of voters done by BOL supporters during the plebiscite. Venezuelan youth renew fight against their president Nicolas Maduro as they take the streets to depose him. Meanwhile, Venezuelans will close its embassy and all consulates in the United States. Stephanie C. will tell us why.
Thousands of youth took the streets of Venezuela on Wednesday for protests aimed at ousting Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro. The economy's accelerating collapse, rampant corruption, and Maduro's broken promises of a recovery have driven many out onto the streets. The protest comes after new opposition leader Juan Guaido proclaimed himself interim president and denounced Maduro as an illegitimate usurper.
I don't have any food at home. That's why I have come down here. Bloody Maduro, we need to get rid of him. The fight is going to be long. You can see we've been held but for or many times more, and we will remain here until there's a change. We understand that the government is desperate. There's a lot of fear. There's a lot of international pressure.
The United States, European Union, and most Latin American nations now recognize Guaido as head of state, though he has no control over the state's functions, which remain loyal to Maduro. While in 2017, the demonstrators failed and left the opposition in disarray, protesters have told Reuters of a renewed confidence in dislodging Maduro, who became president 5 years ago and has presided over a halving of Venezuela's economy. Opposition organizers say they wanted to avoid the violence that characterized the 2017 protests, though in a few parts of Caracas, demonstrators on Wednesday lobbed projectiles and burned vehicles. Local rights groups say a total of 14 people have been killed so far this week across the country. Meanwhile, President Maduro said on Thursday that Venezuela will close its embassy and all consulates in the United States 1 day after he broke off diplomatic relations in response to U.S. recognition of an opposition leader as interim president. Maduro added that he agreed with a call by Mexico and Uruguay for dialogue between Venezuela's government and opposition for a resolution to the South American country's political crisis.
I have decided to recall all diplomatic and consular personnel for the country and to close all consulates in the United States.
Stephanie C., UNTV News and Rescue.
Miners of the Rescue Brigade prepared on Thursday to go down the vertical shaft drilled parallel to the well where a 2-year-old boy has been trapped since January 13. Miners had been drilling day and night to create the shaft 197 feet deep that would allow them to then cut across to reach the toddler Julen. Julen fell down the borehole shaft as his family walked through a private estate in Totalan, Malaga. There have been no signs of life since. India launches what is considered as the world's lightest satellite into space. Castro will tell us why.
Indian Space Research Organization on Thursday night launched what it called the world's lightest satellite from southern spaceport of Sriharikota. Kalamsat weighs only 1.26 kilograms and has been designed by a Chennai-based space education firm, Space Kids. The student payload was the first to use PS4 as an orbital platform. It will help ham radio operators and inspire school children to become the scientists and engineers of the future.
The opportunity that ISRO is open to us, I think, is phenomenal because you put in so much of money to build a rocket, and to give one segment for the student research is amazing. And
the satellite was launched by ISRO's reliable Indian Polar Satellite Launch Vehicle, a 4-stage rocket that on this launch weighed about 260 tons. The PSLV successfully injected Microsat-R and Kalamsat V2 satellites into their designated orbits. About 13 minutes 26 seconds after liftoff, Microsat-R, an imaging satellite, was successfully injected into the intended orbit. Srimati Kesan, Chief Executive of SpaceKid India, said that the satellite took just 6 days to make at a cost of 1.2 million Indian rupees or $16,887. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi congratulated ISRO on another successful launch. The Indian Space Agency is also working on launching its first manned space mission by 2022 that will aim to send a 3-member crew to space for 5 to 7 days in a craft that will be placed in a low Earth orbit of 300 to 400 kilometers. Kat Dumaraos, UNTV News and Rescue.
The new president of the Democratic Republic of Congo calls for unity after divisive election. Meanwhile, lawmakers explored other potential compromises to end a month-long impasse with the White House. Beverly Saison will tell us why.
In USA, the U.S. Senate has rejected 2 bills to end the government shutdown, leaving no end in sight to the record-breaking closure of federal agencies. The Republican legislation failed by 50 to 47, and the Democratic bill followed suit by 52 to 44. Both measures were long shots, needing 60 votes to pass. Meanwhile, 800,000 federal workers who are struggling to cover their bills will miss another payday on Friday. At 34 days with no end in sight, this is the longest shutdown in U.S. history. In Brazil, a gay Brazilian politician has said he will not return to the country after receiving death threats. Jean Willis, one of the country's new openly gay congressmen, told a newspaper he had been powerless as his reputation was destroyed by lies. He said violence in Brazil had worsened since the election of far-right President Jair Bolsonaro last year. Bolsonaro has vowed to tackle corruption and crime, but has also made racist and homophobic remarks. However, in his inauguration speech earlier this month, he promised to build a society without discrimination or division. And in Congo, Felix Tshisekedi called for a national reconciliation on Thursday as he became Democratic Republic of Congo's president, succeeding Joseph Kabila in Congo's first transfer of power via an election in 59 years of independence. The pageantry of the ceremony was briefly interrupted when Tshisekedi was taken ill during his inaugural address and had to sit down. But he returned to the podium moments after a brief pause, saying he was exhausted by the election and the emotion of the moment. Tshisekedi's victory in the December 30th election was marred by accusations he struck a backroom deal with the outgoing president to deny victory to another opposition candidate. Kabila and Tshisekedi's camps rejected those allegations. Beverly Saison, UNTV News and Rescue.
The sister of missing Cardiff City soccer player Emiliano Sala feels her brother is still alive after the plane carrying him had gone missing. Jovic Burmas tells us why.
The message that I would like to give is to not stop the search.
Romina Sala made an emotional plea for the authorities on Thursday to continue the search for the plane, which disappeared over the English Channel 3 days ago. Rescuers ended their search on Thursday for the plane carrying the Premier League soccer player after saying there was little chance anyone aboard had survived. Sala, Cardiff City's new signing, and the plane's pilot David Ibbotson have been missing since Monday night. Rescuers have scored about 1,700 square miles but have found no trace of the aircraft or those on board. Speaking at a news conference in Cardiff on Thursday, a tearful Romina urged the authorities to keep searching for her brother and the pilot.
It is very difficult at the moment. I feel very confused. The only thing I want is for my brother to be found, for the pilot to be found. I feel that they are alive and that they are okay and that they are waiting for us.
She said that she last spoke to her brother on Monday and that he was very happy and very excited. The 28-year-old Argentina-born forward was en route from Nantes in western France to make his debut for Welsh team Cardiff City. Jovic Burmas, UNTV News and Rescue.
A world-famous Portuguese street artist uses art to raise the alarm of pollution and climate change. Beverly Saison tells us why.
Damaged car bumpers, industrial bin lids, and any rigid plastic waste Bordalo II can get his hands on is turned into street art sculptures of endangered animals. Two of his latest work, a round-eyed lemur and a brightly colored owl, are now on display in the streets of Paris. Arthur Bordalo, known as Bordalo II, has already installed 130 pieces of street art in 23 countries across 4 continents using 42 tons of plastic waste he finds in recycling centers, rubbish dumps, and discarded on the side of the road.
about the things that we cannot use again. For example, back in the studio, we never throw nothing away. We just keep everything. And what happens, like, even materials that we think that we will never work with that, it happened that maybe 2 years ago, 2 years later or something, we'll look for it and we'll find a project where we can use it.
Bordalo II said the idea behind his work is to make the shapes of animals with the materials that kill them, namely plastic and the pollution that goes with it, drawing attention to the impact of consumerism on the environment.
We are destroying the world with our habits, with the economy that we are defending. And the animals are probably the easier way to make a portrait of the nature because they are more similar as the humans than a tree, for example. And they got expressions like eyes, noses, and I think animals are easier to represent in nature.
An exhibition of Bordalo II's work called Accord de Paris, or Paris Agreement, opens on January 26, a nod in the direction of the 2016 Paris Climate Change Agreement, and aims particularly to educate the younger generation on the devastating impact of globalization on biodiversity with his eye-catching, brightly colored sculptures and portraits. Beverly Saison, UNTV News and Rescue.
A primary school principal in North China has become the latest internet celebrity for busting some cool moves during a morning exercise routine with his students. Every morning, 40-year-old Principal Zhang Pengfei at the Shiguan Primary School in Linyi County, Shaanxi Province, would lead about 700 pupils on the playground in a synchronized school shuffle routine, a dance that incorporates contemporary jazz steps with heel, toe, and arm movements. The bold headmaster thought the fun and energetic exercise routine would better encourage students to get active instead of being glued to their mobile phones. The Members Church of God International was once again presented the Jose Rizal Award by the Philippine Blood Center. Aiko Miguel tells us why.
Amounting to 6,710. Congratulations, Members Church of God International.
For the 7th consecutive year, Members Church of God International was awarded by the Philippine Blood Center the Jose Rizal Award in the Dugong Bayani Awards 2019 held this morning. From 2012, MCGI has been receiving the Jose Rizal Award from the National Voluntary Blood Services Program, Philippine Blood Center. 6 other recognitions were given to awardees depending on the number of blood units donated in a year. These are the Gabriela Silang Award, the Apolinario Award, the Antonio Luna Award, the Melchora Aquino Award, the Gregorio del Pilar Award, and the Andres Bonifacio Award. The Jose Rizal Award is the highest award given to blood donors organization with the most number of blood units donated in a year. An organization should at least have 2,000 or more blood units donation to be a Jose Rizal awardee. In 2018, MCGI has the most number of donated blood units compared to the other Jose Rizal awardees. MCGI has donated more than 6,000 blood units from its members in different parts of the country.
Una po sa lahat, nagpapasalamat tayo ng maraming sa Panginoong Diyos sa muli pong pagtulong sa ating pagsasama-sama sa Member Church of God International na sa ikapitong taong tuloy-tuloy po ay nabibigyan po ng ganap na pagkilala ang ating munting bahagi sa pangangailangan ng dugo dito sa ating bansa sa pamamagitan nga po ng Philippine Blood Center ay nakakapag-share tayo ng ganitong share sa ating mga kababayang nangangailangan ng dugo.
Bloodletting activities is conducted quarterly by MCGI, spearheaded by MCGI's overall servant, Brother Eli Soriano, and Mr. Public Service, Kuya Daniel Razon. This is done to help recipients who can't afford to buy blood units. Last 2017, MCGI also has donated almost 6,000 blood units, serving as a Jose Rizal awardee.
In December of 2018, our data showed that 85% of the blood collection in the country, at least 85% of the blood collection in the whole country came from true volunteer blood donors. It also offers a lot already of specialized procedures that will lead to safer blood supply and also provide the needed blood products to our patients. Whether these patients are having blood diseases like leukemia, anemia, or cases of emergency nature like trauma, vehicular accident, or the ever-challenging cases of bleeding during deliveries by pregnant women.
MCGI started its bloodletting activities in the Philippines and is now also held in different parts of the world. PBC hopes that there will be more lives to be saved this year with the help of the blood units given by volunteer blood donors in the country. Aiko Miguel, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
And those are the reasons behind the news, January 25, 2019. On behalf of Angela Lagunsad and Angelo Castro III, I am William Thio. Because we need to know, we will always ask why. Happy evening, good evening, happy weekend, good evening everyone.